This story is based on official reports and eyewitness accounts, and this is the story of United Airlines Flight 811. On the evening of February 24, 1989, a Boeing 747-122 was being prepared for a passenger service to Sydney, Australia, with an intermediate stop in Auckland, New Zealand. United Airlines Flight 811 began its journey in Los Angeles, California. Flight 811 had no problems on its first flight leg from Los Angeles to Honolulu. The flight crew did not face any problems when they arrived at Honolulu, where they were replaced by a new crew. 337 passengers and 18 crew members boarded United Airlines Flight 811 at Honolulu International Airport in Hawaii for a 9-hour journey to Auckland, New Zealand. The plane they were on, a Boeing 747-100, had been in service with United Airlines for almost 20 years since it was delivered in 1970. The aircraft had been in service with United Airlines for 18 years and 4 months, accumulating a total of 58,500 airframe hours and 15,000 takeoff and landing cycles. Flight 811 was commanded by Captain David Cronin, who was 59 years old and had accumulated around 28,000 hours of flying time in various types of aircraft, including military and civilian. Over his career, Captain David Cronin was flying Flight 811 as his second-to-last scheduled flight before his mandatory retirement. Seated next to Captain Cronin was First Officer Gregory Slater, who was 48 years old and also highly experienced, with a total of 14,500 flight hours. Randall Thomas, who was 46 years old, was seated at the flight engineer station behind the pilots. Flight 811 left Gate 10 at 1:33 a.m. local time, which was 3 minutes after its scheduled departure time. There was a small delay on the flight because the emergency slide on the left cabin door had some problems. The flight's delay was caused by the routine process of securing the 2L door after a somewhat extended period of passenger boarding. All the warning lights for the cabin and cargo doors were off before the airplane departed from the gate. Due to this, while the airplane departs the gate area, the flight engineer dims the annunciator panel lights at his station. The flight is cleared for takeoff on runway 8 right at 1:53 with the captain at the controls as the pilot flying. At 1:53 a.m., the captain took off the plane and began to climb over the Pacific Ocean. Shortly after takeoff, both pilots noticed thunderstorms on the airplane's weather radar and visually during the flight. The pilots decide to change the plane's route to avoid thunderstorms along its path. The captain expects turbulence and therefore leaves the passenger seatbelt sign on. The flight crew asks for permission to turn left from the Honolulu Combined Center Radar Approach Control and is given clearance. 17 minutes after takeoff, as the plane climbed through 22,000 feet, a loud thud shook the aircraft, immediately followed by an extremely loud and powerful explosion. At that moment, the forward cargo door is blown off. The door swings outward with a great force, causing it to rip a hole in the fuselage. Due to the pressure differences and aerodynamic forces, the cabin floor caves in. Because of this, 10 seats are thrown out of the cabin. One of the flight attendants was thrown out of her seat and partially ejected from the aircraft, but was rescued by her colleagues and pulled back inside. Let's take a short break. We've put a lot of effort into this video, and if you find it useful and informative, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us bring you more great content. Thanks for watching. The aircraft was flying at a high altitude of 7 kilometers above the ocean, where the air does not have enough oxygen for humans to remain conscious for long. So, the captain initiated an emergency descent to a lower altitude where the air is more breathable. However, the crew faced a problem when they put on their oxygen masks as they discovered that they were not working, most likely due to the explosion that occurred earlier. The pilots thought that a bomb had exploded inside the plane because a similar incident had occurred 2 months earlier when Pan Am Flight 103 was bombed over Lockerbie, Scotland.
Center United 811 Heavy, we're at Mayday, we've got to come back. We had a bomb or something go off in the airplane. We're taking a 180 and trying to get back to the airport.
United 811 Heavy, Honolulu Center, cleared to wreck Honolulu Airport, say altitude now.
Riley. Okay, we don't know what's going on. Looks like we've lost number 3 engine, and we're descending rapidly, coming back.
9811 Heavy, roger, keep center advised.
The debris from the explosive decompression caused damage to engines 3 and 4. The third engine undergoes severe shaking, exhibits a decrease in exhaust gas temperature, and has a low engine pressure ratio. Therefore, the crew proceeds to turn it off. The first officer communicates with air traffic control and informs them that the airplane is in an emergency descent and that there seems to be a loss of power in the number 3 engine. The first officer activates the airplane's radar beacon transponder's 7700 emergency code, and at 2:20, the crew declares an emergency. The flight crew begins to dump fuel while descending in order to reduce the weight of the airplane before landing.
Center United 811 Heavy, you have a fix on us?
Affirmative, sir. Have you on radar.
Okay, it appears that we have lost number 3 engine and we've lost. We're not getting full power out of number 4. We're not able to hold an altitude right now. We're dumping fuel, so I think we're going to be able to hold an altitude here shortly.
United 811 Heavy, roger. Show you 60 miles south of Honolulu at this time.
Roger.
While descending, Captain Cronin instructs Flight Engineer Thomas to inform the flight attendants to prepare for an emergency landing. However, he finds that he is unable to communicate with them through the intercom system. He asks the captain if he can go down and check what's happening, and the captain says yes. The flight engineer went down the spiral staircase to the lower deck of the 747 and was shocked by what he saw: a huge hole on the right side of the plane. After returning a few moments later, he informed the captain that a significant part of the cabin fuselage on the forward right side was missing. The captain deduced that it was likely a bomb, and given the extent of the damage, he decided it would be unwise to exceed the plane's stall speed by more than a small margin. The captain then notified air traffic control.
Hey, it looks like we got a bomb that went off on the right side. The whole right side is gone.
Shortly after, the fourth engine caught fire with massive flames extending behind it. It was a nightmare for passengers who could see what was happening. The crew had to take immediate action and shut down the engine. At that moment, the pilots were unaware that the explosion had caused damage beyond the engines. The debris from the fuselage had struck the leading edge of the right wing, horizontal stabilizer, and even the vertical stabilizer and the tail plane. The leading edge flaps, which enabled the aircraft to fly at slower speeds during landing, were also dented and punctured, a crucial issue. If the flaps were not working, the plane would have to land at a much higher speed than usual.
811 Heavy, pilot's discretion descent to 4,000.
Okay, 4,000. We got a fire on the right side. We're on 2 engines now.
Yeah, 811 Heavy, roger.
Hey, it looks like we got a bomb that went off on the right side. The whole right side is gone.
The runway was finally visible, and air traffic control granted permission to land. The airliner extended its landing gear as it approached the airport, and the second officer instructed the flight attendants to prepare for an evacuation on the runway. The only task left for the pilots was to land the plane and hope that it remained intact. After approximately 14 minutes since the emergency was declared, the airplane touched down on the runway. The plane came to a stop. The captain then gave the evacuation order, and all 328 passengers were able to evacuate the huge airplane in only 45 seconds. They searched the sea and air extensively, but couldn't find any remains of the 9 people who died during the flight. The National Transportation Safety Board's final report concluded that the likely cause of the accident was the opening of the cargo door in the front of the plane. Investigators attributed the opening of the cargo door to issues with the door's design as well as improper wiring. In this case, it seemed that a short circuit caused the latch cams to disengage, which resulted in the weak locking sectors being deformed and allowing rotation. The cargo door opened because of a short circuit that caused the latch cams to unlock, allowing the pressure difference and aerodynamic forces to blow the door off and cause explosive decompression. After nearly 2 years since the crash, an extensive search operation located the missing cargo door and recovered it from the bottom of the ocean. The cargo door on Flight 811 opened during the flight because there was a problem with the electrical system that controlled the locking mechanism. It had a short circuit that caused the cargo door to unlatch. This accident was caused by faulty wiring and deficiencies in the design of the cargo door, and not by human error. The National Transportation Safety Board recommended that all in-service 747-100s replace their cargo door latching mechanisms with redesigned locks. They also suggested replacing all outward opening doors with inward opening doors that could not open during flight due to pressure differences. After the incident, the aircraft was repaired, re-registered as November 4, 724 uniform in 1989, and eventually returned to service with United Airlines in 1990. In 1989, the flight crew was honored with the Secretary's Award for Heroism for their actions. Captain David Cronin passed away on October 4, 2010, at the age of 81, and First Officer Gregory Slater passed away on September 26, 2016, at the age of 75, in memory of the 9 people who lost their lives in the United Airlines Flight 811 tragedy.